Yeah.
Now we are
Yeah.
almost. Okay. Hi, everyone. Art Matters New York. Mark, Mary,
Hi.
good
Yeah.
morning. How are you? Mark,
So, hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
do you?
Let me. So, hi, everyone. We said we're Art Matters New York, which I think is pretty obvious because what people are looking at right now, our Zoom screen, is emblematic at this point. It's
And the
of who we
beginning
are.
is and the beginning is always a little bit like
It's crazy.
choppy and
We we
crazy.
we don't have that down yet. No. But I think
That's
it's
all.
because of the technology lag. So the reason why we don't have our blank together is because of that little technology glitch when we actually come online. It's not obvious to me. So I take total responsibility. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. We are here with Marie and Cliff, myself, Mark, Safan, and Hans Witschi. Good morning to everyone. Maybe a few more will show up in a
Yeah,
few minutes.
I think Phyllis is on her way.
Yeah. But you know what? We were just having a little chat before we so effortlessly and you know came online. We were talking to Cliff about his venture,
In-
right?
Intro to oil.
Intro.
Intro to oil
Yeah.
painting.
So do you want to
Yeah.
pick up where you left off? It was really interesting, just about because you had been painting with acrylics, right?
Yes. Yep.
And sort of we last week we sort of encouraged you, or not
Mm,
even encouraged you, you were interested
yeah.
in exploring playing with oils. And so that's what
Yes.
you did.
Yes. I think the reputation of oil being rich and sort of you can move the paint around and it doesn't dry up so quick and it has totally different characteristics than acrylic. So I've shied away from it because I've heard it's hard to clean up and it's messy and I'm kind of a messy person. So I thought it was going to be, and I'm right. It turned out to be a messy ordeal, but I went to a place called Michael's, which is kind of a
Yeah.
crafts place. There's no really good art store here in Newport. And I went down to the aisle and I picked out this little minimal, the size of the tubes were sad. They were small. I bought it. And then I bought like a couple of 10 packs of brushes that were too small. And then I asked the lady, I said, do you have any thinner, something to clean up with and something to make the paint looser? And she's like, she showed me a little bottle of like a little perfume bottle. And I thought, no, 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 I need quantity. And I said, I think I'm going to go to Home Depot. So then
That's right.
I went to Home Depot and I bought like a gallon of paint thinner and some oil. And I bought some inexpensive like brushes by the dozen, for $1.50. And so um, then I came back to the garage and I showed you a picture of the garage. And I was inspired by Joan Mitchell and her painting. I think she uses large arm strokes, not just small strokes. She's physical in her studio and she's splashing around wonderful paint, very thin and sometimes transparent. And I just loved her work. And I thought, oh, could I ever do an abstract painting, with similar characteristics? Because I had some success sort of copying Alex Katz, and I learned, how he sort of puts down big colors in the background, and then he goes in with some detailed brush strokes. And so I was, I thought I'd try the same thing with Joan Mitchell and with oil paint, but not having the right quantity. If I had gone to an art store and they had oil paint by the quart, and then I could mix large quantities of paint and come out with a different result. Even if I didn't even overwork the painting, I could have just put on a tube and a half of paint on one brush and then done a brush stroke, and I would have created creative stroke of, and it would have been fun, and it would have been informative, and it would have been experimental. But I'm dicking around with these small tubes of paint and this place that I can't splash around properly. And so I feel like I need to be liberated with quantities and I have to make a lot of mistakes. I have to mix the wrong, the wrong yellow and the wrong blue to get an ugly
Right.
blue, a green. And so when you have to make a lot of mistakes, I have to go through a lot of material. And when you buy a little tube, it's not helpful.
No.
It's
So,
actually frustrating.
so Cliff, it's summer, right? So,
Mm,
which means you can be outdoors.
yes.
So why
I
don't you
just,
get a big tarp and just lay it down somewhere, like on your
yes.
driveway or
Yep.
anywhere that,
That's what I'm gonna do. And you're right. There's no need to just put down the tarp. So I don't, I
yeah.
don't, yeah, no, that's what I got to do. And I look forward to
You know,
exploring.
you could even work on the ground flat. You don't have to work. The painting doesn't have to be upright or on an easel.
Yes,
So you
yes,
can, so like, Pollock was famous for that,
dripping. Yeah,
for, kind of dancing around the edges of the
yeah.
painting.
But when he puts out a color and a quantity of paint, he makes it of a certain consistency, so it's going to pour the way he wants off the stick. And so,
Absolutely.
but I haven't enjoyed or haven't learned enough about the thinning the paint, so the paint has you can apply it without it either dripping or wanting it to drip. Then you make it
Well,
thinner.
you know,
And if
you
you
need you need to get like individual cups, right? You can use cheap little plastic cups,
yeah,
or you could cut the bottoms off of plastic water
yeah,
bottles,
oh yeah,
and soda bottles, whatever, and then you can sort of mix the consistency you want, right? And also Pollock used enamel paints,
house
which,
paint, yeah,
so there are kind of commercial paints that are cheaper than high level, fine oil paints that come in, larger quantities, but also the constituents of, what's in that paint is less. We don't know what's in there.
yeah, yeah,
There's extenders, there's dryers, there's, any fillers, there's any
yeah,
number of things, and we don't know how they're going to age, but that may not be
yeah.
important. That may not be
Well,
important.
yeah, what do you think when someone's doing a large painting? Let's say it's 4 feet by 6 feet, and they're going to be applying, a fair amount of paint. What sort of tube or tubes would they need? What quantity of paint of yellow, green, red? What kind of quantities? Because these little tubes, I guess
Well,
they go a long way if you thin them, but if you don't thin them
yeah.
a lot, you could be at half a tube on one stroke.
Listen, it depends how you work, right? There are painters that want to paint, impasto, where with the paint is stiff, and it's has its own body. And then there are painters that paint very, very thinly. Like I'm sort of one of those painters. I don't use tiny tubes, but I use
Mm.
traditional, I think they're, 40, what are they? Let's see. Um, like this size, which is, what is it? This,
I
there
see.
it is.
Oh yeah, that's a typical
So
one. Yeah.
that's like, that's a typical tube. What is it? 40? I'm looking around oh, here. So it's 37 milliliters, right? Which is a 1.25 fluid ounces. So they're usually like this is 37, but they're usually like around 40 milliliters. And then there's these, which is the next, step up. Uh,
Bigger ones. Yeah.
And these are
I've seen.
100. These are always 150.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So yeah, no, I think I've also been careful not to go too heavy with the paint because I've sometimes put on too much paint, sometimes from the tube, and then I mix it on the canvas. And I think I'm hurting my creativity and my progress by not pre-mixing and finding some beautiful colors and then putting it, as you say, in a plastic cup with the right consistency, and then taking the time to mix, pre-mix in the right consistency, 3, 4, 5 colors, and then start the painting. And so it sounds so easy, but it takes time to, just get mix some colors to proper, really nice colors that you want to work with that work with each other, and then put them in the right consistency, and then go at the painting. And
It's all part of the process. It's like you walk into the studio. That's why it's nice to have a studio and then have all these things set up. Because once you enter the door of the studio, there's a continuity. Like you understand why you're there, there's a connection, and you sort of slow down. So it's not like you have to start from, the the word go each time. It's
yeah,
like it's like there's a consistency and you can slow down and it starts becoming fun and enjoyable, the whole process. Mixing the paints, just looking at the tubes, deciding what you want to do, going
yeah,
to the works that are in progress that are on the wall, let's say, or on the ground. So I think that's why it's really important having a studio
I
and
agree.
having a place where all of this takes place. Then you're
Yes,
not then you're not in a hurry to sort of figure it out like in,
yeah,
1 hour.
I
you know,
think, Cliff, I think, uh, you know, it comes, as Mark says, with the process. You don't have to think about about Pollock with these huge paintings. He mixed all these colors that are gallons on gallons and gallons.
yeah,
And you're not on that thing. You're now experimenting with solvents. You want to see what are the effects. I see
yeah,
now. Here your painting. We see on the left. I see, you're experimenting, and that's good. And you
mm,
go from there, and then once you know really what you want to do, you make also bigger paintings, or whatever. But you have to study the material first. What's happening? Now everything drips. If you do a painting, you can do something with solvent by moving the canvas
yeah,
the differently.
yeah,
That then the liquid goes somewhere else or whatever.
yeah,
You have to experiment everything, and
Yeah,
then
mhm,
it will show you what you have to do. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
That's the point. It's like don't think too much now about
right.
technical
just
things.
just keep
Just experiment.
experiment.
Just watch what's happening. When you do that, and remember what you did,
Yeah.
and so on. It's
Yeah, when I think of the oil palette, you can leave the palette with a bunch of paint on it, and you can come back the next day,
Yeah,
and then and that's an amazing thing to think that I can just have this ongoing palette I don't know how you keep it from getting muddy, but how do you put out, some colors that you like, and then you have a big enough area where you can experiment off the main pool. And that's an interesting thing, to have a huge palette that you just leave there and you keep adding color to it to keep it healthy and full. And then you keep, I kind of looking forward to an ongoing palette. But
you
that will
know,
do.
yeah.
if I can I'm gonna interrupt here just because I want to include Marie, who sent in a painting, because I think that there's a connection between your experiments, Cliff, like what you started doing, and with what Marie is doing. And so I think like so Marie enters the conversation, right? Because I think Marie, you have something to add to this conversation. And so I, I'm interrupting in that respect.
Good.
Okay.
But Ines,
Um,
I like the idea, Mark. And I would also share then something
Okay,
later on.
sure.
Just
So Marie,
because
this is what you submitted today.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Cliff, I used to paint with oils, and I did a lot of dripping, which is similar to what I think you're looking for. And I use Gamsol,
Hmm.
which is like a turpentine, but it's natural. It doesn't have that smell to it.
Yeah. My drips were all accidents. They weren't on purpose. I didn't mind some of them, but I didn't like a lot. It was just an experiment, but I think the dripping can be interesting, but I think not dripping is equally as important. So I'm not hunting for drip, but I love that brushstroke here on the upper. You have this 3D brushstroke on the far left. It's unbelievable. The very far left. I don't know if I can zoom in, but I don't know. It just looks like you created this 3D looking brushstroke. I don't know how you did it to the really far towards the edge of the painting on the left. That, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? On the very edge, just within an inch of.
That was done with a lot of paint, and it was silver paint.
Oh, wow.
So, and I mixed it with some of the other colors.
So Marie, how big is this piece?
It's only 2 feet by 4 feet.
It's really nice. It's beautifully sketched. There's like
Well,
a,
I took a page from Phyllis because I started, which I never ever do. I started with a brown pencil and
okay,
I just sketched, and then I wrote I wrote a word, which I never do. I wrote
okay,
gratitude coming up. You can see maybe the T on the like sort of the middle part and the E.
okay.
And
I can't see it, but it doesn't matter.
anyway, I wanted to get, I wanted to try something different. And
I have a technical question. Is this on a canvas, right?
sorry, say that again?
Is it on a canvas?
Yeah, this is a canvas.
It's a primed canvas, right?
It was a very bright white canvas.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Did
Because
I
it's so
answer?
it's a towel canvas, right? Towel.
Tower?
Fabric. It's fabric.
Yeah, it's canvas.
Yeah, it's canvas.
Yeah.
Because this is important, Cliff. You see how the wash on the left side
Yeah.
goes sideways. It doesn't go straight down.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
because when it's very thin, it follows sometimes the thread of the canvas.
Yeah.
That's why it's not straight down. That's also just a little observation. When you notice that's not that it's like in an angle going down.
But
Marie, what was the pencil marks? Were they in this sort of composition? Any of the pencil marks, or was the pencil marks really not represented here with the paint? Or are those thin lines the pencil marks?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I
Wow.
started with that, which I never do, but I've seen Phyllis do that a lot and I love it. And I just thought it would be an interesting way to start the painting. But I love drips, and I play with drips a lot. I move the canvases different ways so that I can direct the drips themselves. And what I also do is with acrylics, I have a big spray bottle and I put Windex in it, which is like alcohol, denatured, kind of like a denatured alcohol. And so I'm going back into the paint to very specifically get movement. I mean, I like how that looks, the drips.
Yeah, to
So,
wash it out.
yeah,
Did the circles, were those?
Erosional approach. Erosion is approach.
yeah, it's like erosion. That's right.
Were your circles freehand in the pencil? They look almost perfect, like you had a string. Or are you perfect? Are you a perfect person? Were you able to do a perfect, look at that.
Well, Cliff, you know me, so you know I'm not a perfect person.
So how did you get those circles so perfect then on those pencil marks on the right, upper right? They look like,
I don't think they're so perfect.
oh, to me,
I don't even know what I sort of was doing. What I'm kind of concerned about with this painting is that the part that just has the lines, I don't know if that's interesting enough or white enough to just leave this way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, of course. But those are questions that always come up in painting. Should
Yeah.
I just leave it or how do I continue? Do I need to continue?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's sort of the
you
question
know,
about this. Yeah.
In my opinion, even I like all the whole thing. What's happening? For me, the painting is not finished.
Yeah, I feel like
It's
it's
being
not.
said.
Yeah.
Something is missing.
Yeah.
well, it
And
it feels like
I
a
don't know
preliminary.
what, but it's
It,
just there are so many interesting things, but something doesn't
Yeah.
hold the whole thing
but
together.
for me,
So
it feels like a preliminary
Yeah.
sketch. It feels like a sketch that it's the beginning of a painting, but it's really, really good. The composition is really interesting. The asymmetry, the elements that are happening on the left-hand side, the circle that goes off, the top edge, and then the very strong brush strokes on the far left. But somehow it all works. The whole composition feels really good. So I think it's a great place to begin. It's like
Yeah.
where a painting almost should begin of this type, It feels like, it's you're working it out in the paint and on the canvas. You're working out the composition and it feels good. And it beckons for something else to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels sort of like a Diebenkorn in a way.
Oh,
You know,
that's interesting.
just structurally, the transparency of the paint, but it can go anywhere at this point. You just have to, you know, decide where you want it to go, and in the same openness with which you did this, you want to continue it. Just guiding it and finding it in the process. You
I
know,
think, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I think it needs a counter motif. It's wonderfully done, but it's too much of one thing. You just gotta slap in something else.
Yeah.
Make us look.
You know what? Larry Poons, and he takes those skins of the
Yeah.
paint. I did that on the
Oh,
upper right. I don't know if you can,
where?
the upper right line. It's like silver and
Oh,
gold.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you can tell, but I
here,
was
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah,
get a
yeah.
little
Oh,
bit
so
of,
you peeled that off of the palette?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can add more elements like that. I think I agree. I need to come back into it. But I started, just Cliff, getting back to you, I started off with a lot of heavy paint with browns and blacks and this intense blue. And then I took I took a squeegee, and that's the size of my squeegee, or those two lines.
that's funny because I was going to ask you, what tools did you use? I didn't know you'd come up with this. I was thinking, what's the thickness of that brush she was using on that upper stroke on the
Yeah.
left? But it wasn't a brush, was it? What tools?
No,
What
no,
other?
that was a brush.
How big? How wide was the brush?
I think I got it at like a Home Depot too. It's maybe like 6 or 8 inches. It's a pretty substantial brush.
Yeah, something powerful about a big, thick Home Depot brush.
Right. Well,
and
Julian Schnabel used a broom.
Yeah, well, maybe
So,
that's
you
Right.
can
my
use
next,
anything. You
that's
can
my
use
next
anything.
goal.
I'm
and
gonna
then,
try the broom. I think I want to try the broom just for fun, just to see what happens with the
yeah,
broom. Yeah.
if
But
you
I,
put
s-
it, and
oh,
if you put it flat on the ground, then you can use a push broom, with a long,
yeah,
you know. I mean, so,
Ah,
people have applied paint in every possible way, that you can
Right.
imagine.
Yeah.
but
how
I
many?
think back to you, Cliff, this looks like a painting that didn't have a lot of pigment on it. But it did.
Right,
Like the amount of paint that I took off
right.
was like 3 big tubes worth.
How many colors did you start with?
I think
Did
it's
you?
just like 3, like
And,
a black, that blue, and then that silver. And then I had a brown pencil.
and how much time did you think about those 3 colors? That I'm going to use these 3 colors on this painting. Did you think, was it premeditated?
Yeah, I've been actually, yeah. I actually had wanted to add a pink in there.
Ooh, that would have been.
Wanted to do browns with pinks for some, I'm like stuck
That's
in
a
there.
good idea. Pink is a good
Yeah,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. I think maybe I could go back. I don't know if
Yeah, you can. Why not?
browns in the, yeah.
Why
But I
not?
want to
Of
warm it
course.
up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. But
I think, because this circle is so dominant that maybe you could make a square further down with this method with that remnants method here on the right. The silver remnants, but you
oh
need a clear form, you
yeah,
know,
I
to,
do need
to
another,
give a balance to that circle. The
yeah,
circle is so strong
yeah,
that you have to balance it somehow. That's what
yeah,
Phyllis
yeah, I agree.
also. So it could be that with this method, with this silver method, where the
Yeah,
peeling or whatever, that you have a piece which is as a clear square size, for instance, and put it there.
yeah,
That maybe balance the whole thing, you have to try. So, this, I wouldn't go so much in there there is lots of beauty in there. You can easily destroy it now.
That's right.
that
It's
is
very,
true. I can
Yeah,
easily,
very,
yeah,
very difficult
that's
to
true.
balance something, and not do too much. But so
well,
that means
that's my problem. I go back into
lot
it,
of thinking, a
overdo.
lot of could that work? Maybe try something out, put it there, and which you can remove.
That's such a profound statement, Hans, that it's so easy to destroy it. Because when you paint like I sometimes do, and like Marie does with this emotion and this freedom, that it's so easy to destroy. When if you're doing a much more delicate thing, you can come back. You can come back. But when you're so emotional and bold in some of your materials and quantities and brush sizes, it's hard to come back from a 10-inch Home Depot brush stroke because
It
yeah.
could be even that you just need over this whole painting just a line like this. You see, we look at the camera, but just on the right thing, and everything is just there. You know what I'm saying? Just
You know,
a, a line or whatever,
let
and
me
the painting is finished. But it's so delicate. But
let me
you will solve it, Mary. You will solve it.
With your help.
let me throw
Also
something.
could have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Phyllis. Do you want to say something?
Um, you have a lot of paint on that horizontal that holds up the circle. But if you had, what I do is when I get a lot of paint someplace and the space behind it is not working, I start pushing the paint in that area. You know what I mean?
So
Yes.
Rather
you
than
say-
start with a new color or a new thing, I put a lot of paint on one area and then I use my brush to put it, even my fingers sometimes, into the space that's not working.
So where do you suggest doing that? Here.
Well, there's this strong horizontal that holds up the circle. Uh,
You mean this whole thing, this whole
I
horizontal?
wouldn't do the whole thing, but the part from the circle to the edge of the painting needs a
Here?
little, no, the other side, needs articulation.
I agree.
That's
That,
why I said
I-
a
yeah,
counter motif.
yeah.
If but that I guess you'd start something else.
Okay. Um, what I wanted to say as a
Yeah.
kind of another way of thinking is that we're talking about this whole discussion has been about aesthetic problems. In other words, how do you not destroy what you have? How do you finish this painting? What
Right.
to add, what to not to add? But I think that it's important to think about at least or know what you want and where you want to go. So, for example, if you're painting a portrait, let's say of someone, right? If you're painting something representational, you know exactly what you have to do and where you're going. Even though there's a lot of room, to move around, there's a lot of, very small decisions that you're going to make along the way. There's still an end. There's kind of an end result. If you have like a general idea or some idea of where you want to go, then you don't really need to think about every little, detail that you're destroying along the way because the end becomes important, right? So I think all artists have to think about where we're going, what we want to say. So sometimes it's good to have a subject of sorts, or at least, a generalized idea. And then we don't have to worry about every little thing we're destroying or painting out, or if I should add this color or that color or whatever color on top, because those kinds of questions just become impossible to answer because there's too many of them. You know what I mean? So I think, so I'll go back. I think sometimes it's necessary to at least posit some idea of where you want to go, of what you're thinking about, what you're doing, and what you want to
Yeah.
achieve. So I'm
That's
saying that's part of the mix. It's just part of the mix.
But with Marie, did you know that circle? Did you draw that circle in pencil before you put paint on it? Or did you Did you have that in your mind early in this composition?
I did not have that in mind, but I've been coming off of where I think Phyllis really inspired me because there are a lot of crosses, circles, square, I was getting to
Basic elements.
yeah, so I wanted to include that in here, but originally I painted it as a vertical, not horizontal. It's just that when I looked at it, it had so much more interest as a
Yeah.
art.
Well, Mark, your comments about having a subject when you're abstract painting, it's kind of, when you have a subject, it's much easier because then you have a direction. You have, but when you're painting abstractly, it isn't sometimes the lack of subject the complex part of the
There's still
composition?
there's still parameters. Like look at Joan Mitchell. Her work is so consistent. So she's an abstract painter. So was Pollock, so is,
But
whoever else.
she claims her stuff is all landscapes. She says that a lot of her stuff obviously comes from nature, and I
Okay,
and I
that's my
see,
point. That's
yeah,
my point. So if she's using nature or she's, getting, inspiration from, nature, whether it's colors, whether it's landscape, or whatever it is, wherever that comes from, that provides her direction. And then she can do sort of what she can be very, very free within those,
Yeah.
parameters, within those limits. And I think, all painters, when you think about it, I mean, their oeuvre, their work is very consistent. Pollock, even when he went from figurative, to abstract, there was something consistent about it. Um,
I
so
think it
yeah,
has to do with, uh, it's the method. It's you have to, Johnny Mitchell had a method. She developed
yeah,
a method. Let's
yes,
say you can compare it to a dance with a
Right.
brush. So
yeah,
that means you have to be concentrated also to do that. Because
Yes.
if you're not concentrated, you make so many different things that you get the things
yeah,
not
Yeah.
exactly.
right.
Good point.
So
Good point.
this is very, very important. So you don't need uh, an a supreme idea of
No,
something,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I believe in even I don't even Johnny Mitchell says this has to do with nature. It's true, but in a way, I would just say she was really so free, and she was more interested in dance, which has no meaning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just to make people more. I don't know. She said, yeah, it has to do with nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's so obvious that she was so free. Of course, you can see nature because you have so many greens in there or whatever. It's but the forms, that's the thing. Also with Jackson Pollock, he had a very clear method because and
right.
he was so consistent with this thing that you don't sometimes when you do something with pattern, you suddenly still see something in those pictures.
I
Suddenly you see an elephant or I don't know what, and
have a
and, and
question.
it's so difficult to make an abstract painting which you just see what you see and not something else. You
Yeah.
know, especially with expressionism. It's
My,
very, very
que- Go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm feeling.
My question is, Hans, it's not the question, it's so much, it's a pursuit that I use all the time. I try to find out what the method is, and it's very hard. It takes a lot of study and time just on one painting and going to the next. How is this painter an A painting, B painting, C painting? What makes him that becomes a difficult question.
Right.
But I think it's an intangible that you're talking about, Mark. There is something there that you're looking for, but even the person painting doesn't really grasp it.
I
The
agree. I
the
agree that
the
you're
most
trying.
the
Yeah,
most graspable thing is the method, as Hans said.
I agree. I
If
think
you
that
can do that, but that's a
I
very abstract thought.
I think that the doing of it is kind of is a synthesis. You're synthesizing some, generalized idea, you're trying
Exactly.
to define it, but you're also discovering something essential about the material at the same time. And you want that material to be an analogy, or be analogous to some, feeling, some spiritual, idea, sentiment, however you want to define it, also have something to do with the physicality of the material and also some sort of poetic representation. And the doing of it pulls all of that stuff together.
Right.
You start learning, how to do it, how your body, how your mind is synthesizing all of that stuff into the act of painting,
But it's
right?
very interesting to look at other painters and delve into their work as if you were making it or trying to make it. Not a duplicate, but
Right.
um,
Yeah,
an,
understanding.
an
Yeah,
understanding or essence of
yeah,
work.
Yeah,
yeah.
when Hans mentioned consistency, obviously Jackson Pollock, he's totally consistent in a lot of his work, but even Joan, she's very consistent. And I think that word consistency helps bring the abstract composition to life. And without consistency, you sort of get messy. It gets a little bit. If you look at the picture of the Joan Mitchell book that I photographed at the bottom, see if you can you zoom in on her. Look at that thing. She's got like these two colors, and I couldn't get that green for the life
Whoops.
of I couldn't get that green for the life of me, but I took that photograph as inspiration to try to emulate her 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 emotional application of the paint, and I'm in love with how she puts the paint on the canvas, and it takes a lot of study and a lot of consistency, I think is that word Hans used, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Hans.
Yeah. You see also that she's more structured. At the same time, she's even more free. So that's very, very interesting. When I look at your painting, it's very probably her painting was also the bigger size, or did you
Oh
take the
yeah.
same
No, I started working small, and I'm gonna go big on.
size matters, in certain.
Oh,
Uh,
totally. That's why I love Marie. Marie says, "Oh, I did a small painting, 3 by 6 feet," and so it's so funny to hear Marie talk of a modest sized painting for her is a large painting for most people, which I love about you, Marie. How often work
You
generously.
know, when the first day that Marie walked into my class, she had, I think, Saul, right? Was Saul with you?
I don't know.
Carry in a canvas that was like, I don't know, 4 by 6 feet. That was like her first day.
Oh, that sounds like me. I go into a beginner's class and everybody's working on an 8 by 11, and I come in with a 10 by, a big canvas.
Yeah,
And
You think
yeah.
big. But
but
I want to say a couple things. I think that it's really great, Cliff, that you are studying just like what Phyllis is doing. You're studying artists that interest you.
mm,
Right.
And I think that that's a great way to learn. And I
Yeah.
think most of us started that way. And for me, Joan Mitchell, she paints gardens, she paints flowers. I mean, that's what I see in every one of her paintings. And I think that she is like what Hans was saying, she's structured. To me, she's very structured because she does very similar things in all of her paintings, but she's so free and
mm.
one of the first people that,
But her consistency comes in her brush stroke and
absolutely,
also the way she proportions her color. So we don't have to know it's a Joan Mitchell to
exactly.
identify it. Oh yeah, we know it's Joan Mitchell because that's what we're responding to in her paintings. Her brush stroke, her
Right.
palette.
Yeah.
It's an
Who,
intentional.
how long do you think it took her to do that painting, and how many layers, because mine was the first 20 minutes of this painting. I didn't spend more than like 20 minutes doing it. Now, did she spend 20 minutes completing this painting, or did she spend 3 months?
It wasn't 3 months, not unless the painting was, in her studio for 2 months, against the wall. And then she picked it up again. But it looks pretty spontaneous. It doesn't look like this kind of painting took, it does look like she painted over the center area.
Yeah,
And if it's oil, yeah, it probably there's a layer that may have dried.
But the green
You
came second. Didn't the green come after the blue? Because
Yeah,
look
I
at the,
guess it looks like it. It may have, yeah. But the green, it looks like is mixed with black. It
yeah.
looks like there was black in there too,
oh,
even in the. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell from this photograph,
I don't
yeah.
know, but
but
probably.
but it's hard to tell. But her style, it doesn't look like. I mean, her big works, yes, she really thought about and looked at. I mean, she did some big paintings, and they may have taken some time. But this this looks like it was pretty spontaneous, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this
So
conversation.
And even there's
Great.
like white. You can see there's white paint on the left side. This
It,
whole
Yes.
area looks like it was painted in.
it doesn't
Yes.
look spontaneous to me.
It doesn't.
No, I mean, to me, I think she knows exactly what
Mhm.
she wants to paint. When she's coming in, she knows what she's going to
Yeah,
paint.
I
I
agree.
think you're right. I think
I
you're right
don't
about
think
that.
Yeah.
she's
But
not
I
like,
don't,
oh, I'm going to see how this drips, or she's
no, no,
not,
no. But I'm
she,
not,
oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, but I'm not saying that spontaneous doesn't mean that there's, there's a difference between spontaneous and deliberate. It's part of her process. There's a
Oh,
spontaneity, there's an immediacy, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't step back, and say, well, I'm going to, I need to paint this white area here because it needs, whatever. It needs that, it needs light there.
oh,
She,
It's
I'm
amazing how important the white, not her painted white on the left, but how her absent from paint, how important every one of those little spaces is what makes the painting for me so great, is that she didn't cover it. She deliberately kept all those white areas white, and she did go in with some white on the left, but the white on the right looks like it was a virgin. She didn't touch it. It was good.
Yeah, right, right.
That's great. In your painting, you did the same thing, and that's good.
yeah.
You
I
just
like,
you just got already a lot of things what you have to preserve. That things are really not becoming dead paint.
Yeah.
I,
You are on the right track. You have to
Right.
study now a little bit. I mean, she has that's fierce painting what she's doing.
Did you say
yeah,
And
fierce? Did
in
you
your
say
case, it's still weak. There is no
yeah?
power. Maybe you need a little more smaller brush and do something with that blue. That you get some energy in there.
Yeah.
You are
Well,
on the
looks.
right track.
I think I covered much too much of the painting too quickly, and I didn't wasn't thoughtful enough about what not to paint, and I didn't think. I'm not. Mark was saying how premeditated and thoughtful good artists are about each brushstroke. Although it can be loose and emotion and free, but there's a thoughtfulness, because it's so easy to destroy. That was the famous statement of the day, Hans. Thank you. It's so easy to destroy a painting with paint. I love that comment of yours.
I'd like to
I
get
like also, by the way, I think you put your brush to the book there. It's the on the bottom is you laid the brush on that.
Yes, I did. I did. I wrecked a
I like that. I like that.
$70 book. It was destroyed. No. Well, wait until you see it. Wait until you see it next week. I'll cover her
I like
You
photograph.
know what? It's like a cookbook. It's like a cookbook. It's full of spots and stains. If it's a good one.
Mark,
Oh,
I'd like to say something to
Yes,
you.
please.
Yeah,
Just had an insight. I think that the way Joan Mitchell paints is analogous to, she knows what she wants and how to get it like a portrait painter would.
I agree. Totally.
Yes.
When she's
I,
right, when she's coming in,
I
she knows
agree.
Right.
that this is how much white space she wants, is these strokes she's going to use. She's going to put the greens in, she'll interlace them in a certain way. She knows. And I think that's what makes her like one of the greats, because it's very interesting. I don't think it really matters whether it took her a lot of time or not,
No.
because she is so deliberate about how she makes her marks that it could be that it takes her a lot of time, but it feels like it's so effortless, that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Probably took a lot of time to get there.
exactly, probably took her 80 years to get there.
But as we know, time is relative.
That's true. But I'm just saying, I think that that's what makes great painters great.
Mhm. Right.
is that they know they're coming in and they know what tools, what marks they want to make.
Right.
Do you think as a new training, someone who's learning to paint, I'm tempted to pick Joan as a master to try to emulate and learn from and stick with it and be consistent with my efforts to try to paint like her instead of one day I'm doing a landscape and making a pretty ocean wave, and then the other days I'm having more fun doing abstract work. If you really find yourself enjoying a certain type of painting type, do you think you should, for consistency purposes and for training purposes, you think you should stick with it and stop bouncing around with all these different artists that you've appreciated over your life? That's kind
I
of a
think it's
question for
up
Mark
to
and Hans and everybody.
Cliff.
Yeah,
Cliff, I think that's really up to you. You know, you have to just
Yeah,
you find out. You know, you cannot,
that's
the
right.
point is, when you start each painting starts actually as an abstract painting.
yeah,
Even you make a line, you make first a line, or you do something. It's just abstract at the beginning, and even
Absolutely.
even a portrait, or even
Absolutely.
students league, when you make a
Totally.
wash, a background wash, it's a monochrome painting. It's that and then it goes on with each step. You have 100 ways to go. You
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
that's the interesting thing.
But I was
If you
thinking,
want, if you want to do that, then you become also an interesting artist, because you show everybody each step where you could go, and it would be great as well. But
yeah,
if you don't, that's you have that's the crazy thing. You have so many possibilities.
yeah.
I can make a decision for you.
No, I used to paint cubist. I remember, it was different parts of. I used to enjoy Picasso, and I used to paint shapes and cubism, and these odd broken faces. And now, I'm off him, and I'm interested more. I'm trying to find myself and find a type of painting style that I could show you week after week. And there's some consistency. I'm not bouncing around so much. So I look forward to trying
Now,
to be more.
what I would do, Cliff, since you started with Johnny Mitchell now, these paintings, just take another painting and try to go that you really like. You would really like 700 years ago, when you just copy a master and you try to do that, and you will learn so much by doing that. I would do a whole series based on Johnny Mitchell.
Yeah, no,
Huh?
I look forward
And
to
then
that.
and then you will see that you are going deeper, or you suddenly you feel, I have to go a different way. But
Yeah.
you have to exhaust yourself. I think painting is also about exhausting yourself.
It's torment. There's a little torment. She was tormented,
If
obviously,
you
and
don't do it, you feel bad. You have to do it. You have to do, and then you are exhausted, and then you need a
Right.
break, or you just change.
Marie, you're
And then
painting.
something very new happens, which
Yeah,
you never expected, and then oh, that's it. That's actually now it.
Marie, you're painting. I've known you for a few years now, and I see a consistency in your efforts and your the way you paint. And so you have now, developed obviously a style and a palette and a composition that's not too dissimilar from. If someone showed me 50 paintings, I think I could pick out the 10 that you did, because you have a consistency, which I think is nice. I That's nice that you've gotten there where you have some consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, Mary has so much energy. It's crazy. It's inexhaustible.
Now, is this Marie or is this Joan?
This is Joan.
I see.
What do
Yeah,
you
Marie.
think? What do
Well,
you think?
I don't
I,
think you've been looking at Joan if you can't
What do
see
you
it.
think?
no,
Show
I
of
see it's Joan.
hands,
No, it's Joan.
Marie.
No, it's Joan. Joan.
Okay,
Joan.
Marie thinks this is her painting. That's interesting.
Oh, wait,
Um,
did you say wish it was or
No. I said, show of
oh,
hands, whose painting is this?
like
And
that.
Marie
Like,
raised her hand.
no, I
yeah.
wish it was my.
Well, I just thought we should take a look at, this, quickly. This is obviously Joan Mitchell, right?
Yeah, and you know what I would like to say here
Yeah.
that it's so well done is her white space, her
Me
negative space.
too.
exactly.
Me too.
You
Wow.
know, I don't think it's well, I like her energy and her brushstrokes, but to me, what really separates her is just the amount of white space.
Me too. It's half the painting. It's unbelievable how the quantity of white. It's beautiful. Yeah. No. So good point.
What I think is
she's-
interesting about this painting is that she's really gone beyond painting things, beyond painting, you know, even a landscape, or, flowers or a field, or this painting is totally about finding a poetic analogy
Exactly.
that's pure paint. It's just about painting. It's reducing
That's it.
paint to just color, brushstroke. It's just a big, thicket mess of just pure painting. And it works just as a painting and on a visual level, but on its own terms. And this one doesn't really even refer to nature anymore.
Hmm.
Becomes more about pure painting and liberated painting.
Hmm.
That's
I
This
think
is
it's
the kind of painting that I like of hers. I don't
yeah, me
really
too.
I mean, it's very nice and pretty, but
Yeah.
you see flowers and
Yeah, who
plants,
cares, right? It's like
very pretty, but
it's pretty, but
this
it's
is
like
exactly,
post
this is
impressionism,
a
you know?
fabulous painting.
But the scale, I bet this is huge because if it was small, it wouldn't be great.
Right. I think it is probably big. I think
Oh,
you're
it
probably
looks.
right.
Isn't it interesting that small, and we might agree that there's certain sections of this that wouldn't be that great if it was small, but because it's large, it's powerful and intense and wonderful. Isn't that interesting to think that just the size of the painting is so informative to the
I think
Well,
that the size has
scale,
to do with the concept of the painting, nothing else. It's not that big is better than little or little is better
no.
than big. It
It's
has
not
to
that it's
do with the size fits this concept. How,
right. So
how she
so
got there, we don't really know. There's an area of art we don't know about. And if you can get there, you're God blessed or given something. If you can't, then you just paint like the rest.
there's so many colors.
It's a hard truth to accept, but it is.
Do you think there's 50 different colors in this painting?
depends how you
no,
define.
Cliff. It could be even that she just made a painting with all the dirty brushes she
Yeah,
had before she
absolutely.
cleans them. She
Yeah.
takes all these
Absolutely.
Yeah,
50 brushes and with the rest of the color, and that's why it came so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Sometimes you
Yeah.
also be at a certain stage, and then something happens which because you are just let it go or whatever. We
Because
don't know.
there's a lot of really muddy stuff going on in there,
Yeah.
with mixing, into browns and, these dirty greens, which are obviously, mixing the orange and the blue together, into,
they mix each other when they're on the palette, on the
yeah,
canvas.
on the
And
canvas as
yeah,
well. Yeah. And then
I
she's
mean, I
dragging this
think you're
kind
obsessed. I'm sorry, can I say something?
yeah, go,
You're
go.
obsessed with mixing colors. Forget about it. Just paint.
Right.
Let
Right.
the paint do something.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what she's doing here. She wasn't
Yeah.
analyzing color. I think Hans might have been right. You know, she took different old brushes with paint and just,
Sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But no, what you say is so true, Phyllis. She's not thinking about color here, about
no.
getting it right. She's just using paint, and
I
paint
mean,
has color
don't go
by
crazy and
definition.
use the whole, you know, you know, spectrum of color. You have to limit it to some extent, but that's conscious. But still, she doesn't bother about mixing colors.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think you're right too.
good point.
I get the best colors when I don't mix them.
You do
Mm.
get great colors though.
So
Mm.
here, let's do this one. Well, this is lousy. Hold on a second.
You're looking for his
Why
map?
did that happen? Hmm, that's weird. Okay, let's do that again.
Mm.
Do that.
What are you hunting for?
Well, you'll find out. Um, hmm. Oh, okay, here we go.
Oh, I thought so. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, that doesn't do. So let me, how can I do this? Let's see.
We see it.
The map of the United States.
Oh, you see that?
Yes,
Yeah, we
that's what I see.
Oh, okay, good, because that's what I wanted you to see. Okay, so this is interesting because this is Jasper Johns, right? And so he's coming from where Joan Mitchell left us, right? But he's putting in a subject, a map, a recognizable map. And again, the reason why I was searching for this was because of what you said, Phyllis, about color. It's like he's not trying to get the right color. This is basically, three colors or four colors, and he's just mixing paint. It's about paint. It's about the brush stroke. It's about paint is color, right? It's pigment, but he's not trying to, you know, find, or what's the word, um, organize or orchestrate, the perfect
It's
relationships of
it's
color.
just the same thing that the Joan
It's
Mitchell does.
the same thing.
It's
It just
amazing,
comes out of the paint. But for
isn't it?
him, he literally has a map.
Yeah,
He literally, in this painting, has a map.
it's unbelievable.
Okay, so it's a map and a map, right? So that's what he's talking about. And it's also flat. So he's talking about a map is like an idea of flatness and right, which a painting is as well. So it's very profound. As for a painter, it's a very
Right.
painterly, it has a lot of stuff to think about. And he was a thinker, as well, coming out of, his interests, were conceptual as well. And it also has something to do with pop art, which is when he was painting at the time, right?
Yeah.
1960.
And I didn't see the stenciled states names before I called it a map. All I needed was the top part of the country and the curvature of California to know it was a map. But
Right,
then I
right.
zoomed in and saw that he had stenciled all the states, which I hadn't even seen. Did he stencil? You think he
Yes.
stenciled? Yes.
He also stencils literally the names. Let me see if I can make this.
In like red for red paint, blue.
Well, I'm unfortunately, I can't enlarge this for some reason. I don't know why. Let me see if I can get another. But he literally stencils in the names. I don't know if you can see that. I was
Yeah,
trying to.
yeah, you can see.
Can you see that? Like all the names are on these states, Idaho,
Mhm.
whatever they are, Montana. And he literally uses an old-fashioned, I guess it wasn't as old-fashioned then, but it probably even was then, but the letters, the stenciled letters, right? Which have their own kind of, pre-made uh,
Yeah.
design and aesthetic. So let me
And the right-hand side of the canvas actually has a curvature. It's very interesting the way he did this.
right, he picks up on certain
Well, otherwise it would have looked exactly like,
yeah,
and
he
it
picks
doesn't,
up
yeah.
yeah.
it-
Well, I mean I don't know what I'm looking for here. It doesn't matter, but uh he did the same thing with, of course, the American flag.
Right.
So it just becomes an emblem and a map, and allows him to play and do his brush strokes and do his things, and it also uh doesn't see here. Here's one with well, um, we'll just I see that again. So it goes from the map to this, which is just the same palette, brush strokes, mixing, and the names of the colors stenciled across this instead of the
Yeah,
names
I've
of
seen
the
that.
states.
Yeah.
So it's sort of self-referential, which he played a lot with.
Oh,
Things that are about themselves or about art. Just the very um, blunt word for the colors, that you see.
I wonder
So
if it was the fall. Was it the fall time when he was doing this and he had just got back from upstate New York?
could be. Who
There's
knows? Could be.
so many fall colors in there.
But
Right.
that's interesting. And I always wondered why he did that, like why he would put red or orange or blue. Why did he do that?
Because it's about the object being itself. It's about self-referentiality, that things stand for themselves.
So
Or
another
So
way
the
of saying
color orange is orange.
just orange,
That's
it's
all it
just
is.
orange.
That's all it is. The color orange is orange. The color blue is blue.
I think he was
So
changing the metaphors.
What do you mean, Phyllis? Like,
Well, usually color is used metaphorically, either to mean something spirit, I don't know, whatever. Or he's saying here, color is color. It's another metaphor. Color is itself.
it's itself. Exactly.
Yeah, it's probably about the term and language, and
Yeah.
you can also, with a blue pen you can write the word red
yeah.
with a blue pen.
Right.
You know.
Right.
He'll be very
Right.
creative. That's a very creative person that does that.
But then it becomes literature.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so
He
there's so
copied a
all
lot of things from her.
But I think
Borrowed.
Jasper Jones is for me another thing.
yeah, it's another thing, but I was just
I,
sort of
I I don't see it so. You can see a lot of painters in Jasper Jones too, not
yeah.
necessarily Johnny Mitchell. It's like
Well, what's interesting about this
yeah,
also, what I notice interesting about this, you see the Joan Mitchell now?
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, is how Cy Twombly picked up
Mhm.
on a lot of this
Mhm.
yeah.
and came
That's
out of
Oh,
this.
yeah.
But he
because
added his
I
own
tried to
little
know, it's the gestures of writing or everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting it's interesting that all these people were painting at the same time,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they were picking up on a certain language, but they were also personalizing it. They were adding something that was, you know, what, definitive of who they were or specific to who they were, which is interesting. I mean, but it's all a kind of a general, it's a language that they all shared, which
The
sort of
more you
came,
look at this, the more beautiful it becomes.
yeah.
Well, the discussion today has been intense and really I enjoyed it very much because we're talking deeply about abstract paintings, and it's been really enjoyable to be a part of this discussion for me. I really like how it went, how it's going today.
Me too.
Good, great.
All of us feel the same way.
Nice.
Do you want to see anything else? I mean, Hans, do you have any ideas? You want to take a look at anything?
Yeah, no, it was only about washes. I wanted to old work with wash because of washes, but it's not really interesting now. That's not about.
Is a wash just
Like this solvent with solvent thing.
okay, yeah.
You know.
Because there's something when you have light, less is more. Sometimes the less paint, it's almost fun to have thin paint, less colors. It's often enjoyable to. It's so easy to get muddy and so easy to get too thick and paint
Right.
over too much of the canvas. That do you have a favorite artist that uses washes, or was Joan a wash lady? Did she
No,
use?
Oh,
not really.
see, maybe I find something
Here's something.
uh,
I hope it doesn't look washed out.
That's funny.
Ugh.
So this is Diebenkorn, obviously.
yeah.
I think for washes, he's the guy, right?
So he just took paint and then just added some other ingredient to wash it out. Is that what he did?
I think I think he used rags, and but I think he painted very thinly and just moved it around the surface and then built up layers, obviously, because they're very nuanced. It's never, even though it's blue, it's like, multiple shades of blue. He just kept working it and then adding these, architectural elements. And that was sort of what he did.
The architectural elements are very intense, and I didn't see much architectural elements in and some of the other artists we've been discussing. The architectural element is a characteristic that's easy to identify. It's almost like a
Yeah.
smiling face. You can see it, but this artist certainly did. He always use architectural elements to amplify his
Well,
stroke.
in this series called the Ocean Park, he did, but you can see here that he was a figurative painter for a long time, and he used paint very thickly, actually, earlier. But then he, you know, kind of developed uh, this style of painting more thinly, like these.
Mm,
I love that one.
nice. Peaceful.
I show you some
Okay.
paintings which the guy uses just a lot of, washes. He's from Scotland. Hold on. Can you give me
Oh
the
yeah, sorry. Here you go. Yeah. Okay.
green? Where is it? advanced.
Where's, oh, there. Did Cliff go?
Huh?
I think Cliff,
This
whatever,
is,
lost his connection or something.
oh, really? Oh, too bad.
He may come back. We'll see.
So Callum Ines is famous
Who?
from Edinburgh. He's from Edinburgh.
What's his name?
Callum Ines.
Okay.
And he makes, as you see already here, these paintings, which are all washes. You know, they are all, let me see this one, for instance. You see, is Cliff not here anymore? Too bad.
He left for some, he just dropped out. I don't know why.
Mary, can you call him?
Yeah.
But you see, these are, you see that they are
Yeah,
all washes.
yeah.
Just very simple abstract paintings.
You know, again, I mean, this is probably what he was painting in, I don't know, the
He's
80s.
still alive, Callum is
Are these
alive.
1980s, 80s, 90s?
Yeah, until today, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, you know, just like we were talking about Joan Mitchell, Jasper John, Cy Twombly, you know, the fact that these are just very, what's the
Born in
word? You know,
1960.
abstract, geometric abstraction, basically, you know, is very much of the language of that period. There were a lot of painters doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, German painters, Blinky Palermo, what was his name? Federley. They were all picking up on a similar language. You
Yes,
know,
but
Bryce
you know,
Martin, even Bryce Martin.
but what
They were,
I want to say is only this is about these washes.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
not now about the abstract.
yeah,
I wanted to show that because
yeah.
of the washes, you
Right,
see
right.
what you can do with washes.
Yes, yes.
And it's too bad that Cliff, maybe he sees. They are wonderfully,
Said
very
he's trying to-
simple. Look,
Yeah, they look beautiful.
Yeah, he said he's trying to
wonderful.
get back in, but can't. That's the,
Oh, wonder why.
Excuse me.
Maybe something's going on with his server or something.
I don't know. It gets me back to what Mark said years ago, which is like everything's been done.
Right. Well, this area of abstraction has really, really been explored. You know, painters have, that's why I said that the structure of these paintings, the flatness, you know, the way that, you know, the geometric abstraction, the way that the squares conform to the canvas itself, all of these elemental things have been explored. So that's why sometimes, I don't know, I think, you know, I mean, like today, people are just, everything is just up in the air. You know, people are painting figuratively and, um, you know, everything else. Subject is important. Narrative is important again. Like all the paintings we've been looking at are sort of non-narrative, right? The narrative is sort of in the history and how you got there, and but it's not literal. But today people are painting. Um, you know, they're trying everything. Everything is up for grabs.
It
Yes.
makes it.
So that's probably today.
I resent your email to
The
Cliff.
monologue was good, Mark. Thank you. Everything has been done. Let's have a
I'm gonna
pizza.
like sign off
Let's
before.
have a pizza now.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna sign off.
I
So that
think
was
it was
fun.
interesting. It was
Yeah,
interesting.
I
yeah,
thought it was a great class.
yeah.
I learned a lot.
Follow.
You know, it's interesting, just as a last thing, you know, that I'm going to say anyway, you can say, is, you know, we go back to certain painters because, you know, we have people that are interested in paint, you know, and they're what paint can do. So we go back to, you know, Joan Mitchell, you know, that was really, you know, representative of liberating paint, right? Uh, that came out of abstract expressionism, and so we frequently go back there because that's an exciting place for people that are, I don't want to say, you know, necessarily beginning to paint, although that's true, but just having an interest in the material and the possibilities of paint, and that's an interesting place to go back to. But if you look at the whole arc of painting, you know, there's a lot more going on than just that period, you know. So it's interesting to even, you know, whatever your interests are or sensibilities, you know, it all exists, you know, it's been done. And, but, you know, um, what am I trying to say? That's it.
Good.
There's examples out there, in other words. Okay. Anyway, sorry. We'll sign off now. Thank you for joining us.
Next week.
Bye.
So I'm just gonna